Okay, I'm a minute early. But I was watching and I know Brian's finished. Facebook is so weird. I never trust it to do what I want it to do when I want it to do it. So I think I'm live. I'll believe it when I see myself in the group. Yep, I am live in the group. Okay, I'm going to put my phone in a different spot though and make it easier for me to see comments. Let's see. There we go. Okay, I can see comments. I think I can see comments. Okay, hey everybody. I always want to look at my phone, which is right here, but my camera's here. So, Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts. I'm really excited to be back with you all today. I love these events. I look forward to them every month. Thank you, Brian, for the shout out during the break about my project. I'm super excited about it too. And we'll talk a little bit about the collaboration with Tiffany Thiessen and just how she's approaching it, which I think is very cool. Couple of things before I get started because I know I'll forget. And of course I moved it. I'll have to find it. I have two giveaways. One is a kit from today, and one is a Peanuts transfer, and I will grab it so you all can see it. So stay active in those comments. Hello from Western New York, Fleetwood, Pennsylvania, Norway. Oh, wow. I need a map. Somebody said this the other day. I think it was, I was watching a Whatnot show. Somebody said something about they needed a map so they could like pin where people watch from. I think that would be very cool. What time is it in Norway? I'm super curious. I hope it is cooler for everybody where you are than it is in Central Illinois. It is hotter than words I can't say on Facebook. So I have kits available, a couple of giveaways. And I'll talk a little bit about some other chalk things that are going on. So I think the giveaways and the kits were the main thing I wanted to say. Yeah, okay. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Move myself around here. I am going to turn off this camera because you guys don't need that. And that way it will give you the biggest view on this area. Oh, that's what I was going to say. My audio. So I have been having some very weird audio issues with my 9:30 p.m. Well, thank you for being on at 9:30 p.m. because I am in bed at 9:30 p.m. So I appreciate you. San Antonio. Oh, I love San Antonio, Central Virginia. We're all over the place. But I've been having some weird audio with my super expensive external microphone. I think it's due to Wi-Fi issues. I'm hardwired now, so I'm hoping that won't be a problem. If my audio gets weird and tinny, let me know in the comments because I can switch my audio source because that's super annoying. All right, so for those of you who are new to OOAK or new to me, I am Whitney with Girl Friday Crafts. As part of my business, I am a chalk couture independent designer. And so I often bring chalk projects into the OOAK events. And this month is no different. And we are doing a project with a Try Me kit from our Totally Tiffany collection. So back in March, chalk entered into a collaborative relationship. I'm going to give myself a 15-minute warning here. Those of you who know me, you know I like to talk. Okay, good. Thank you, Anna Marie. I appreciate that. Entered into a collaborative relationship with Tiffany Thiessen. As Brian mentioned during the break, any Saved by the Bell fans might remember her as Kelly. She went by Tiffany Amber Thiessen at the time. She is now for all intents and purposes, a social media influencer, but she's written several cookbooks. Her and her husband and her kids live on a farm. They raise chickens. So she's a design and lifestyle influencer, and we entered into this relationship with her. We've done 2 releases now with her. So I guess it was in April because this one's dated in April. We've done 2 releases now. She has designed every single transfer in those releases. And if you look on the website and see the products samples that are with the transfers, she has done all of those herself. So Chalk has a design team, and the design team will create the samples for the website and the lookbooks and things like that. But on the Tiffany line, she does all of it. And I think that's so very cool. And so one of the Try Me kits that came out with her first release was called, this is called Wildflowers. So it's this transfer. Take it out. This one's obviously my used one. With these pretty little flowers, and you get a reusable acrylic surface. So once you've used this, you can take the paste off and use it again. And you get a reusable chalkboard surface, and I love these surfaces so much. And then you get a little stand to put them in. And then you get a squeegee, and you get the kit as you buy it off of the Chalk site. Comes with 2 paste packs. I always send y'all a little bit extra, so on my kits you get 3. And so that's everything you need to do a project. And I love these Try Me kits. We always have a variety of them because they're a great way to try chalk without investing a huge outlay of cash. And so there's a couple of Tiffany ones. There's some Snoopy Peanuts ones, because we also entered into a collaborative relationship with Peanuts this year. And it's really fun. And I would love to know in the comments, I recognize names, so I know some of you are familiar with Chalk and me, but if this is your first time watching me and you have no idea what Chalk Couture is, let me know in the comments, and I will talk through in a little more detail what it actually is. And I'm going to show you all multiple ways, as I like to do, to use the transfer in this project and ways you can apply the paste. I have my fan going because it's hot, but I'm going to turn it off because that will make my paste dry faster, and I don't want to do that. First time watching you, but love talking. Okay, Cindy, so you're Anne-Marie. Love it. Okay, so Anne-Marie, just for you. So Chalk Couture is a high-end DIY. Of course, I forgot. Okay, sorry, I gotta grab something. Give me 1 second. Oh, but there's the giveaway transfer, so we'll get that too. I had my little list of everything, and I went through it a second ago and thought I had everything. But it's a high-end home decor. Hi, Christine, first-time watcher. Thank you so much. I love that. I love all of our regulars. I love you all so much for continuing to come back. I always love to see new people too. It's so much fun to have a little bit of both in the group. So it's a high-end home decor DIY company. Started as a sign company, actually. And they've expanded into other things. And these transfers, I gotta make sure I stay on camera here, are silk screen. So it's like a stencil, except there is silk screen in the negative space, and that kind of keeps your medium from bleeding through. Penny, oh, understand, Penny. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. I hope you're doing well. Sending you lots of good thoughts. That definitely had to be a difficult transition. I imagine you had to make a lot of changes. I know they've come a long way, but I know that's still a big recovery from something like that. So sending you lots of good wishes. The back of these are sticky so that they adhere really well to your surface. Now, if you are chalking on a non-textile surface, you want to do something that is called fuzzing the transfer, a very technical term. You want to take a little bit of that sticky off so that when you lift it off of your surface, you don't lift up any of your paste. This is really, really important if you are chalking on glass, acrylic, or plastic, like plexiglass. It's important on wood and like this kind of chalk surface, but those can be a little more forgiving. If you have an older transfer, you may not need to fuzz at all, if as much. But when I'm doing a class, I do it anyway because I just want people to see what it looks like. We're going to start with this surface. Again, you get both of these in your kit. Hey, Misty. Oh, somebody new too. Oh, I love it. Well, make sure you ask all your questions. If I miss it when I'm live, I will go back later and answer. We've got a couple of experienced chalkers with us too, so they can answer. We all do it a little bit differently sometimes. So it's good to get different perspectives on how people use the product, how they apply their paste, what their favorite surfaces are, that sort of thing. I'm going to do this chalkboard surface first. I love these surfaces, especially if you're new. They're very forgiving. And we are going to do what we call a one and done. So it's just using one color to apply the transfer because those are stunning. Multicolor projects and designs are beautiful, but one and dones are equally beautiful. Now, you can probably tell that I have some staining on this transfer from when I did the sample project, this right here, but that's not going to come through. This has been completely washed off. Some colors just leave stain, so it won't be a problem. So I'm just going to use some bright white, and I'm going to put it on my squeegee, and I'm going to start in the middle and just kind of work my way across. You don't have to worry about using too much because you'll squeegee off the excess when you're finished and put it back in your jar. Over time, you will learn to kind of use less and less as you go. When I first started, I always used a lot to make sure that I really covered all of that negative space. And that's just a process. But the biggest thing if you're doing this for the first time is I would be more concerned about using too little than I would be about using too much. You want to make sure it doesn't dry on you, and you want to make sure that you get all of your negative space covered. So we're just going to keep pulling some out of my jar, and we're just going to pull it down across this surface here. Now the name of the transfer is written at the bottom. That's not negative space, so if you go over it, you're not going to get anything on your transfer. So I'm being more careful there than I should be, or than I need to be. There are old transfers where that is negative space. I have a few. They stopped doing it that way not long after I joined. Oh, Cindy, don't let them scare you. How do you get it smooth over the entire surface? So like this. So I finished everything, and then I squeegeed off my excess, and then I'm just going to go and squeegee off the excess on the transfer. That gets out the lines. Also, going all in the same direction helps with that too. So if you can go left or right or up and down. It's better if you go all in the same direction. It keeps it smooth. And then I like to use this detail tool with this little pointy edge to get my corners up off the transfer. And then I'm just going to pull nice and slow. And we're going to pull this all the way up. The reveal is the best part. And then you've got that. And I love that. I love black and white. I love all of our designs in black and white, whether it's black paste on a white surface. We have several wood surfaces that are like a white wood grain, or white paste on a black surface. And so that's your one and done. Single color on any surface. And, you know, I could have chosen anything. So like this papaya would have looked gorgeous on that. This peachy keen would have looked really pretty on that. But I like black and white. So we're going to set this aside and let it dry, because I'm going to come back to this, because there's other things that you can do with this. Also, I love florals in single color, because I think they just lend themselves to really popping on any kind of surface, whether you've used a color or a neutral. I just think florals look really pretty like this too, especially, again, black and white. I really like black and white. All right, so we're going to put that aside. Now we're going to work with the acrylic surface. Now, what I did on this acrylic surface is something called a paste and peel. And if we have time, I'm going to show you all how to do a paste and peel, but I'm not going to do it on acrylic, and you'll see why. But acrylic is one of the surfaces that these transfers stick to like glue. And so paste and peel requires you to do a color, lift it, let your transfer fall back down, do another color, lift it. And that's pulling a lot on the transfer on a surface that doesn't give very much. So what I like to do on acrylic is a couple of things. Single color, like we just did, the one and done. Hot mess, or a watercolor technique. And so I have another acrylic board, so I'm going to open this, and I'm going to show you all hot mess, because I'm conflicted. Ooh, actually, you know what? No, I can do that. I'm going to show you all hot mess on this, because I can show you all the watercolor technique either on that chalkboard, or I have another wood surface over here, depending on how much time we've got. You all know I can be chatty. And hot mess is great. I love hot mess for florals. Some of you have seen me do hot mess. Yeah, right? So you will often also see it called marbling. If you like go on YouTube and search for chocolate marbling technique, you're going to see the same thing. I prefer to call it hot mess because that speaks to me as well. And it's kind of funny because it looks like a hot mess and then it turns out absolutely gorgeous. And so I kind of like that, that juxtaposition in the phrasing. But I am going to need to get my baby wipes out. 1 second. So to do hot mess, you are going to want baby wipes. You can use Clorox wipes as well. Either one will work just fine. We're going to set this aside. Oh, real quick. This is the Peanuts transfer that I'm giving away. It's a little Snoopy, along with one of today's kits. And you'll get, with the Peanuts transfer, you'll get some paste and a couple other embellishment kinds of things with that too. So, all right. So we are going to open this. Now, to open these transfers, there is a, is it on the front here? There is a sticky tab here that you can pull. I don't like having to deal with that when I get the transfer back in. And because I don't hang my transfers for storage, I just cut it across the top. Makes it easier to get them in and out of the package. Let's see. Make sure that, yep, okay. I think I'm up to date on the comments. Always worry about that stalling out on me. So this is a different acrylic surface than the one that comes with the kit. This has holes in it to hang. We do make a punch. It's called a power punch. That will punch holes through a lot of our surfaces. I don't know if it would punch holes through this acrylic, but the wood board that I'm going to use later actually looks a little bit like this. It'll punch holes through that. It'll punch holes through our coasters, that sort of thing. So that's a nice tool to have. You can kind of, I know, I love our Peanuts collection. It's just so stinking cute. And it's officially licensed. We entered into that licensing agreement with Peanuts. It is their 75th anniversary. So if you're noticing Peanut stuff everywhere, that's why. Can't get the corners up. Now I'm going to fuzz this a lot because we're using an acrylic surface. And even though there's a lot of negative space and not a lot of sticky, it's still going to stick. We're going to fuzz it. We kind of tell people, because you'll feel it when you push this down and then pull up. The more you do it, you'll feel it come up easier. This is a chalk fuzzing cloth. You do not have to have one of these. A microfiber towel will work. A terry cloth towel will work. Your shirt will work in a pinch. You just want to make sure it's something that's not going to leave fibers. That's the big thing. So we tell people fuzz it until you think you're done and then do it a couple more times. So I'm going to do this a couple more times. And we're going to put this off to the side. And then you're going to put this, let's see, I am going to put a paper towel underneath this just to help it, you all be able to see a little better. There we go. It kind of blends into my board here sometimes. So we're going to put this down. I'm not going to be real picky about positioning here. I did get something on the transfer. Of course I did. Now, where did that come from? Because that fuzzing cloth was just washed. There we go. Also, a nice thing about this detail tool, if you get something on your transfer, it'll pick it up. Okay, that's super crooked though. I don't worry about it too much, but sometimes I'm like, no. All right. Now, the other big thing with all of your surfaces, you want to really make sure that you're pushing down to adhere their transfer so you don't get bubbles. But I find that with acrylic, I need to do that a little bit more. Now, I love our acrylic surfaces. I absolutely love them. They're so versatile. They're so pretty. So many things you can do with them. They just take a little getting used to. All right. So we're gonna pick our colors. So I'm gonna use Peachy Keen and Papaya. I want a little yellow in here. Let me grab, oh yeah. I'm gonna get my pucker, which is a yellow shimmer. And yeah, we'll throw a little dune in there just for some contrast. So with hot mess, you're going to use your fingers and you're going to put your color on in dots and then you're going to blend it. And I say that before I used Snoopy to make a set of coasters as a graduation present. I love that. Oh, that's such a good idea. I love our coaster sets. They're so fun. If you want one color to be predominant, even when it's finished, you want to make sure you do more of that color than anything else. Or if you want one color to be less, you want to make sure there's less of that color than anything else. So I don't necessarily care, except maybe I want June to be a little less dominant, so I might wait and do June last. You're going to want a baby wipe or a Clorox wipe to clean your fingers in between. So I'm going to start with Peachy Keen, and I'm just going to get some on my finger, and I'm just going to start making dots. Just all around. I mean, no rhyme or reason particularly. I want to have a decent amount of paste on my finger because you're going to be spreading this through. So you want to make sure that you've got enough paste to make it spread. I've done this sometimes where I haven't put enough paste on to begin with, and I'm like adding paste after I'm like starting to make my circles bigger. So that's the first color. And then I'm going to add the pucker. So this is a yellow shimmer. This was a color of the month last year. We have it as an ink permanently, but not yet as a paste permanently. Now, you can use ink on anything. So if you like this pucker color and you want it, you can buy the ink and you can use ink on wood, acrylic, glass, anything. Anything you can chalk on, you can ink on. You cannot use paste on anything that you are going to hand wash, or machine wash, or put in the dishwasher. Paste will never be water soluble. You can seal things to keep them from ruining your paste. So yes, baby wipes are an absolute must. To keep them, so like coasters, right? If you want coasters to be usable coasters, you can spray seal them with Rust-Oleum or clear spray paint, and that will keep them from getting from the that will keep water from ruining the coasters. You cannot put them in the dishwasher though. The heat and the soap will ruin them. You can spot clean them. So for example, a tote bag. I will make tote bags with paste because I'm not intending those to go in the washer. If I sell them or give them as gifts, I always make sure people understand you cannot machine wash this. If I want it to be machine washable, I need to use ink. I hope that makes sense. I'm just talking. I'm talking and doing this and not completely thinking about what I'm saying. It makes sense in my head. So basically you can ink on anything. You can't chalk on anything. Ink has to be heat set on textiles for it to be machine washable. It does not have to be heat set on anything else. It will be tacky for a little while to the touch. And then once it kind of completely cures and dries, it won't be anymore. So you won't really be able to tell that you used ink and not paste. So I'm kind of going in here and making sure that places that don't have ink have a little bit of this dune. Not quite so big. And that's partially to make sure that I have enough paste on here. And see, I just said ink. Paste on here to be able to spread everything out. Now you could throw a little green in here too, because you've got, you know, the flower stems and stuff. Really whatever colors you like. It's also kind of fun. So the sample that I did, I have, I don't know if you all have seen them. They're called color cubes, from Sarah Renee Clark. I used her color cubes to pick the colors for that design. And so if you are doing a hot mess and you're trying to figure out what colors to use, those cards are a really fun way to do that. And then once you've got your paste on there, you're just going to start making your circles bigger and blending those colors together. Now, you'll start to feel in some places your paste might be getting a little dry. That's okay. The paste that you put on last or more of will still be wet, and it'll kind of blend all that in together. It'll be fine. You don't have to make the circles real big. You don't want to blend it too much. Like you don't want your paste to look brown on your surface. If it starts to look brown, you'll know you kind of have overdone it. Just kind of blend it all together. You don't really even have to pick up your fingers. I pick up my fingers, but you can really just do this. Just swirl it all around. Basically just mixing all of those colors together. Now, one thing that I think is fun to do when you're using Hot Mess is have a small project at the ready. I'll show you why. Because if you take a color tray and you take your squeegee, so what we're going to do, I'm going to start in the middle. So we're going to squeegee this off, and I'm going to put that in a color tray, and then you can use that paste for something else. Now, if I take this and put this in a Ziploc bag, it'll keep for at least a couple of days. And if it starts to dry out on me, I can reactivate it with water. But then you have all of this lovely blended together paste in this marbled technique that you can do something else with. Ooh, I know what we're going to use that for too. Haha. Okay. Get this off of there a little bit. Just to make sure I don't have any lines. Try to get some of this off at the top. Right. And then we're going to take my detail tool again. Now, you'll see why I really didn't want to do a paste and peel. To do it just for me or to do it for the demo is one thing. Doing it live is a little trickier. So this is sticking to this surface way more than it did to that chalkboard surface. And it's just a difference in surfaces. Rocking your transfer back and forth will help. You want to try not to stretch out that transfer. That's the biggest thing that is a concern when you're working with glass or acrylic or plexiglass or anything like that, is when you're pulling that up, you want to try not to rock it or try not to stretch it. So rocking it back and forth will help you get that transfer pulled up without doing that, without stretching it out. Yes. Yeah, Donna, I can absolutely do that. Do an upcoming project with paste and ink. So I will, I think it was November of last year, I did a card class and we used ink to make the cards. And I think that is on my YouTube channel. If it's not, I will get it on my YouTube channel. But yes, I can actually absolutely do that for an upcoming project. I need to do an ink project. I've never done a true ink project in this group to kind of show you, like, I just did the Grouchy Since Forever tote bag, which is in my VIP group right now. It'll be on my YouTube channel here soon. But I think I used paste for that. I don't even think I did ink with that. And so I got a little paste on the side and this acrylic surface. You can just wipe that off. And so there you got your hot mess. My hand under that so you can see. So you just got all of those colors blended together. And so like I said, I love this for florals. It's one of my favorite ways to do florals in multiple colors. One, because it's just easy. I've gotten very comfortable with paste and peel. It took me a very long time to get comfortable with paste and peel. But especially if it's got intricate detail and stuff like that, I'm gonna do hot mess because it just, yeah, it's loads of fun. So that's one thing, and I love it on the acrylic. One of the other things that's really fun about acrylics, oh, I'm doing good. Okay, that's really fun about acrylics is I like to what did I do with my white paste? Oh, it's right here. If I want bright white, I'm going to grab my vanilla actually. I like to use both sides of the acrylic. So we've got this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over, and you can do this with a paintbrush, but I'm just going to do it with a squeegee. And I'm going to use a big one. And I'm going to take, this is our vanilla paste. So not quite as bright as white, a little bit lighter than Dune. And I'm going to go over the back of the design. Again, I'm on the other side of the surface. And we're just going to do this. This is also something cool to do with black and white. And this is how you can really use white on an acrylic surface and make it pop, is to do your design in white and then do what I'm doing on the back of it in black. And you can do, like I said, you can do this with acrylic paint. Doesn't have to be chalk paste. And then very, very carefully, I'm going to flip this over. And then you've just added dimension to the design. So all of those colors pop a little bit better because they've got something giving them some contrast behind them. And so you can layer that color as much as you want. So if you want, you can see lines in that dune. I don't know if you can tell. Of course, if I hold my hand under it, I'm going to end up touching it and getting dune all over. See that line right there underneath the yellow on the right-hand side? If you don't want that, then you let that dry and then you go over it again, or you fill it in with a paintbrush. Or, you could do this white so that it's really bright contrast, you could use blue so that it's a completely different color that you're bringing in. We have a white called Shimmer Frost. So it's a white shimmer that looks really cool. Actually, let me show you all. Is it sitting over there? Yep. Let me show you all something I used. So this is kind of a similar technique with the Shimmer Frost behind it. So this is a transfer that just came out with our is this a part of our patriotic collection or summer collection? And so I used Hot Mess on the design and then Shimmer Frost on the back. So that Shimmer Frost is much paler than the vanilla, but it gives it that sparkle. So that is another thing that I think is really cool about acrylic. All right, so I'm going to set that to the side and let that dry. And then let me make sure this is dry before I... One other thing that you can do, and you can do this with acrylic, you can do this with textiles, any kind of surface, is a watercolor technique. And so, yep, so this is completely dry. And I didn't bring water, so we'll just spray my brush. You take your transfer and you put it on your surface in a neutral color. Thank you, Cece. Thank you, Penny, Laura. Sorry, I'm just now seeing comments. Tina, Liz, thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you like it. You'll put your design on your surface with a neutral color. So dune, white, vanilla, something like that. And then you're going to just take a paintbrush. I like, let's see. I'm picky about what kinds of paintbrushes I use. You don't actually have to use a wet brush technique. I'm going to a little bit, but this is going to be exactly the way it would be if you were watercoloring. The wetter your brush, the thinner your paint is going to be. So I'm going to use this leftover paint from our, turn this upside down, even though that's not wet, but from our Hot Mess. And I'm just going to paint over this white with it. This is another way to do multiple colors in a design. But it gives you a lot of variation in how the color looks, because if you have a very wet brush, you can really thin your color out. And oh, this is dirty water, so I don't really want to do that, but it's okay. And if you use more of a dry brush, then you're going to have deeper, richer color. And then you can also not paint in everything. So I can leave some of these petals white and paint in some of them with this. And then I can bring in other colors too. So I could take papaya, or I could paint the stems green. I could add some purple to just, add in a completely different color. So I'm just going to come over here and do this one. Now, watercolor technique is really fun on acrylics too, because you can watercolor on both sides. And so you get dimension. So last year, one of our Club Couture projects was a blueberry design. So it had blueberries on a vine. And I did that on an acrylic surface. And I did the whole thing in black. And then I just went in and painted in where there wasn't any color. But I did the blue, you know, kind of the bluish purple for the blueberries on the front. And then I did the green for the leaves on the back so that it had that dimension. Yeah, Donna, I love it too. It's just, it's so much fun. There's so much versatility that comes with it. And when you do it like, you know, like people hear watercolor and it's intimidating and intimidates me. I don't paint, you know, like I'm not a painter. That's not, I can paint things, you know, like I can paint a shelf. I can paint a wood block, but I don't paint pictures, right? But this kind of gives me that kind of ability to do that. Laura Lee, it is very fun. It's very, very fun. Okay. So, and you know, like I said, and I'll, so you could, just so you guys can see what it looks like. I need new meadow. Let me tell you, all my greens are drying up on me. I highly advise using clean water when you're doing this, but you know, hey, that's okay. So we're just going to come down here and I'm just going to put a little green on the stem. And then the cool thing is you can like I could use all of my greens. I could use meadow, moss, and pesto, you know, in these stems and get all of that variation. This probably wasn't the best brush. You really need a pointy brush for this. I will say doing this, I have probably tripled my collection of paintbrushes just since I started doing more watercolor technique or using paintbrushes with chalk. Even just to like fill in where I may have made a mistake or something like that. Because I was like, oh, I need a little bit of a smaller brush or I need a little bit of a bigger brush. Which is great because then when I do other things, I have all kinds of brushes for stuff. But I'm not going to do all of that because I have one more thing I want to show you, but I just wanted you all to see what that, you know, kind of what that would look like. Right. And then you bring in any color you want. The first time I ever saw this done was before we brought in acrylic surfaces, and it was Brenda Durant, who I love. She does amazing things. And we had a transfer last fall. Can't remember the name of it, but it had pumpkins all across the bottom. And so she did the pumpkins in Dune and then went and watercolored over them. And it was very cool. So I'm going to get myself a little bag. Okay, so there's my roughly, well, actually 12 minutes, but my 15-minute warning. I'm going to stick that in my little Ziploc bag because that will keep for me. And I'll use that to finish painting this. Ooh, don't need that. And then real quick, because I have a few minutes. For those of you who are new to chalk, I want to show you what a paste and peel looks like. Because it is a great way to apply multiple colors. It is not as intimidating as it looks. I had to just get over myself with it. It took me forever to actually try it. And then last year, I did a demo video for the Chalk public facing page on how to do paste and peel. So this is one of our simple shapes, the wood surface. It's nice and smooth, so you do not need to use surface wax. You can if you want to. You can always use surface wax if you want to on wood surfaces. I recommend it if it's not smooth. I recommend it if you have painted the surface and you haven't let it sit for 24 hours. Although I did that with something not too long ago and did not work out the way I thought it would. Lifted all kinds of stuff up with it. Still looked cool, but it's like I even let that sit. So we'll fuzz that just a little bit. Again, super crooked. A couple of things real quick. There were a couple of things I wanted to mention. So right now, Chalk has 30% off the patriotic transfers. We also still have, they're calling it a tariff relief sale. It's 40 to 70% off of select products, services, and transfers. So that's still going on while supplies last. I think that's all that's happening with Chalk. Let's see. No, I'm not going to do that. We have transfer tape that you can use to mask off when you're chalking, if you want to prevent getting your paste in a certain area. I'm just going to start off with Peach Keen. That's probably a little too much paste, just because I'm working in kind of a small area. Make sure you all can see what I'm doing here. So we're just going to paste this flower. And I'm going to do this kind of quick because I have one thing that I want to show you all before I close out. So I want to make sure that I don't go over. I can't believe I got through everything I wanted to show you all today. I'm so excited. I always have like 3 or 4 things, like 3 or 4 techniques or this, that, or the other. I was like, if we have time, we never have time. I think I'm getting better at talking and doing at the same time more than anything else. All right. And so then you're just going to lift the transfer up just off of that. So I'm not going to pull it all the way up. Just going to lift it off of where I chalked. And then you're just going to let it fall. You don't need to touch the area where you chalked. I'm just going to do this and make sure that this part is back down on the surface. And we're going to get another one of my little squeegees. I'm just going to do one more flower so that I can then show you the last thing, because I think you'll get the gist. I actually did do a paste and peel video on my YouTube channel just on Thursday too. So if you want to see a whole project, you can look for that. It's one of my newest videos. I'm just going to take this. I got an awful lot of paste. And here. And we're going to spread this out. I do also find that our shimmer pastes are much more forgiving. They don't dry as quick. So I do like using shimmers for paste and peel, especially if it's kind of an intricate technique or an intricate design. And I know I might be a little slower at it and might need a little bit more time. Okay. I think I got some yellow on the side there. And then you'll just do the same thing. Just going to peel the transfer up. One of the hardest parts about this is not getting paste on your fingers. We'll just peel the transfer up off the yellow, and then you're just going to let it drop back down. And then you're just going to repeat that process until you've gotten all of your color where you want it. Now, you can do it multiple ways. So I could have done this whole flower, right? Done the peachy keen, and then done a green on the stem, and then kind of peeled it this way, and then done this whole flower, and so on and so forth. Or you can go all the way across the top and down. You can do all of one color and peel it up. There's multiple ways to do that. You'll see people do it in multiple ways. But that's essentially how the paste and peel works. You apply paste, one color, lift up just that part, let your transfer drop back down, and go on to your next color or to the next section of your transfer. So I'm going to take this off so I can get this in water, and then I'll finish this out because I can line it back up and finish doing that. So one thing real quick, I want to share with you all something new that I am going to be carrying on my website, my Girl Friday Crafts website, doing classes on. And I think not what I'm getting ready to show you, but another one of these kinds of projects will be my August project for OOAK. And where's the cover? I don't know where the cover is. Well, that's no fun. So I am part of something called Paper Craft Socials. And so I will be carrying, I don't know, we're trying to figure out what to call them. Junk journal kits doesn't really fit the bill because it's not truly junk. I mean, like, it's not really junk journaling. There's a cover here that shows what this is, but it's called Life's a Beach. And it's a little memory keeper album kind of thing, for lack of a better way of putting it. I have a little sample that I'm putting together. I'm teaching an in-person class for this next week. It's not completely put together and it's been folded a couple of times now, but this is kind of what it looks like. Open it up and it's got, that didn't print to scale either. I'm gonna have to reprint that. And it's got like fold out accordion pages, and it'll have tags and all those kinds of things. So that is something new that I'm going to be doing. And there's a Highland Cow project that's really, really cute. That might be what our August project is. So yeah, so I'll make sure that that one is actually posted on my website. I'll make sure that I put all of that in the group and share all of that with you. I can slow down now because I actually have like 2 minutes. And so I'll hold this up so you all can see, but I'm realizing that this one that I printed didn't print to scale because it's supposed to be bigger than that. But there's like accordion pages And here's another one of the projects. This is just a little, what is this one? This is a butterfly. This one printed to scale. I don't know why that one didn't. So this is the cover of the butterfly project. But it's a little 3D butterfly, little memory book kind of thing. So really cute, all kinds of options. So I will put a link for all of that in the group. So thank you all for watching today. I really appreciate it. I always enjoy being here with everybody. And I will see you all next month. Watch in the group for giveaway winners. I will pull those later this evening. Talk to you later. Bye.